Good morning to everyone. First of all, happy Constitution Day or National Law Day as it is called to everyone present over here. So it has been 70 years since the Constitution was adopted. And before that, first of all, tributes to all the martyrs who lost their lives in Mumbai in the uneventful occasion 2008. So we'll like to start off with that. So the constitution, as we all know, has been taken primarily from the 1935 Government of India Act. And the journey of the constitution as an organic document links with the growth and development of India. So how the people and society of contemporary India moved and advanced into the 21st century. The constitution also has accompanied us foot by foot, tad by tad, by moving itself into a progressive modern era. So it's not just a piece of parchment which gives us legitimacy as a nation, but it's also a document which embodies the ideals of the people of India. So originally incorporated by Constituent Assembly, which was elected by the provinces as well as the British administration. It contained around 395 articles and 8 parts and 8 schedules and 12 parts, but it has since considerably grown and with having 448 articles, 25 parts and 12 schedules. So over time it has progressively grown and it has become a very verbose document. An interesting point to note about the constitution after reading it for a couple of while is that it is one of the few documents which enables or embodies the concept of autochthony. So what does autochthony mean? It basically means that it gives to it gives to itself its own power. So as we all know, many of the revolutionary nations, such as the United States or any other former colonies, got their independence by armed rebellion and etc. And therefore they had their right to have their own constitution. But India, even though it was deemed a dominion or given a dominion status by the erstwhile British Empire, it chose not to consider that as a proposal or as an option for its legitimacy. Why? So, for example, when the cabinet vision plan happened in 1946, they had the government of India Independence Act 1947. So the British Empire, this was passed in the British Parliament. It gave us an option to have our own constitution and to set up our own constituent assembly. Our founders were so well adept into the legal philosophy, they said that no, we do not need to depend upon any other person to give us our legitimacy. Let's do it ourselves. And that is why the very first words of the constitution says we the people. So it's not just any other terminology to it's not flowery language to say that look, oh, we give to us this constitution. It basically means that we are powerful enough to give ourselves our own legitimacy. Furthermore, the parts of the preamble itself give us how the constitution gives priority or importance rather. So when you look at the fraternity part of the preamble, it says it protects the dignity of the individual and then the unity and integrity of the nation. These aren't just say words which were say drafted by someone who was good at English. It basically means that the state prioritizes your dignity first. So as an individual, you should focus more on your dignity first, and then it comes to the unity and integrity of the nation. And another interesting part of our constitution, and this is a fortunate example, is that it always seeks and endeavors to protect the weak. Now look at all the fundamental rights. I'll talk about this in brief. They weren't ever meant to give the powerful people the right or so-called privileges. So if you take a look at the US Constitution, the right to bear arms was for self-defense, and usually it was meant for say slaveholders who wanted to take control of their lands, or for people who are privileged enough to say protect themselves from wild beasts. But our constitution doesn't focus on any of those aspects. Take Article 14, right to equality. Who needs equality? The people who are inferior, not the people who are above the people who are oppressed. Take Article 15.3, it's for women and children's protection. So again, it focuses on empowering these types of people. Take Article 17 for example, to prevent untouchability. It's again to protect the inferior and oppressed classes, not to protect any other normal citizen. So there's a continuous tendency to uplift the deprived people and bring them to the level of the normal Indian citizen as envisioned by our founders. So it basically gives about the concept of, say, we are Indians firstly and lastly, and then anything comes secondary, whether it's a religion, whether it's a gender, whether it's a caste, whether it's a sex, and etc. So that's a very important aspect of constitutional philosophy. And as I believe, on a personal opinion, that we should focus more on embodying these ideals. So whenever they say that we are a secular nation, or we are a democratic nation, or when we are a republic, for example, I think we should not just limit to ourselves on paper. So yes, the paper or the constitution, if you read it, says that, but are we truly a democratic republic? Are we truly secular in our everyday acts? We should focus more on taking those principles into action. Otherwise, there will never be consistency or compatibility with the actual India and, say, what's the document or the parchment says. So every act should be democratic in nature. We should try and open our doors to people. We should try and be more accessible to people. We should try and empower people to understand what their rights are. We should try and focus, as lawyers, as law students itself, we should try and focus more on securing justice to people, whether it's social justice or economic justice or political justice to people. There are political prisoners involved. There are people who do not have enough basic needs to survive. There we need economic justice. Then there are people who are outcasted from their communities or from society itself. So they need social justice. So all these aspects should be taken into serious contention by us as lawyers and law students, and so we need to focus more on empowering people, and embodying the true constitutional sense. So whenever we go to a court and say that we are speaking from a constitutional point of view, or say I am representing what the constitution says, we shouldn't just limit ourselves to what happens in the courtroom. I think we should focus more on changing society or transforming society as a whole, and only then can we truly say that India is a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. So with that, happy Constitution Day and National Law Day to each and everyone. Thank you, Anu ma'am, for giving me this opportunity. So yeah, thank you guys.